Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. Hope you guys are all having a wonderful day. We have some very interesting things occurring with the market, a lot of buying pressure that is coming in, and we're seeing overall resilience, especially in the broader market. The S&P 500 index closing above 6,700, which is pretty good for the bulls. On top of that, we're seeing stocks like Palantir that are getting into this very tight band on the top of its resistance zone that could be possibly getting ready for a breakout. We see BMNR that's accumulating Ethereum at a rapid pace and is at a very interesting point, considering that cryptocurrency is actually still just kind of consolidating and taking a breather. And we're seeing a new stock, a new meme stock that is causing a lot of retail frenzy and a lot of media attention, and that is Beyond Meat. It is quite crazy what we have going on, but we're going to be digesting it and talking about everything that we've seen today, especially with things like Beyond that have soared over 100%. So if you're a new or returning viewer, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos. Let's try to hit 30,000 subs and pop it up on the screen here. First, talking about Palantir, of course, at 181.59. And we've talked about this in the previous few videos, that Palantir has just been trading very tightly in between this volume shelf and this band right here, consolidating between 175, this lower support end of 170, and having some resistance here at 184. The thing is, we're creeping up more towards this higher resistance point. If it can break through this point right here, I think there's going to be possibly a retesting of all-time highs. If the macroeconomic environment looks good, if we have any type of catalyst that come in, and we do have Palantir earnings that will be creeping up here in just a few short weeks now, that's where my personal price target of $200, at least testing that by the end of the year, is still on the table. And especially with a lot of earnings that will be coming out, I think that's going to show us a lot of resiliency in the market. In terms of the overnight hours, we see it up about 30 cents, basically just consolidating basically at 182. So great to see here. We're seeing a lot of call flow that is starting to be flagged on X for anybody that follows flow accounts and things like that. Seeing here a buyer of 2.4 million on weekly 182.5 strikes coming in here, talking about looking for a possible breakout. Usually when this type of flow comes in, is it insiders or big money that it's making a large hedge or a move predicting a possible catalyst that could be coming in the near future. Talking about the actual futures, basically they are little changed. We see the SPY up about $1, gapping up here slightly, but nonetheless the broader market here at 6,700. Above 6,700, I think, is a great closure, especially for the dip buyers that have been saving the S&P and showing a lot of support, especially at 65.50. So a close above 67.35 is pretty strong, and considering we're seeing some of the stocks for the Magnificent Seven that are establishing all-time highs, we see Apple making a huge move today, up 9 points at 262, up about 4%. What I like here is that we're seeing some frothiness, of course, yes, with like things like Beyond that we'll be talking about here, talking about a potential short squeeze and things like that. Some fun type of, culture type of things, more gambling, all speculative type of movements, which do signal type of market toppiness. And we've seen this with things like quantum, which are actually taking a breather right now. And a lot of other, content creators are talking about this, that these things that had a lot of froth, and especially like nuclear, like with Oklo and stuff, these things are finally starting to take a breather as we're continuing to see resiliency and momentum within the Magnificent Seven stocks. And which is good, because these are actual fundamentally strong companies in America that are continuing to be resilient, which is, I think, a more healthy indicator for the bull market that is still continuing, rather than seeing this euphoric blow off tops for things that just don't make sense. Yes, we're seeing a little bit of that in these different types of niches and different types of trendy different sectors within the market that are all experiencing their separate type of momentum moves. However, the broader market is still remaining resilient. And what we're seeing here is some earnings that will be coming out. You do have more de-escalation hopes with Trump and China. Of course, we saw the whole threat of like adding another 100% tariff on, but then talking about, hey, I think we're pretty close to a trade deal here. So I think the market's starting to absorb some of that uncertainty that's coming with the whole trade rigmarole. And I guess we'll just wait to see until a deal is hopefully established. Now, for some reason, if we didn't get a deal, if the call doesn't go well, if the meetings don't go well, that's where you're going to see probably more selling pressure that comes back in. But looking right here, in the crucial week ahead of us, we're going to have Netflix, Coca-Cola, that are going to be reporting their earnings tomorrow, and Tesla that's going to be bringing those out on Wednesday. So big stocks are going to be making some earnings reports that a lot of eyeballs will be looking at. In the last 3 quarters, basically, of the S&P 500 have posted results that have far beaten expectations, which show you here that the market's doing very well. The economy is holding up, even though we are seeing some small signs of weakness. We're seeing, of course, quantitative tightening that is coming to the end. But typically for the market and what for prices, and especially for small caps that could be entering into its own type of run, rate cut cycles are typically bullish for this. There's a lot of money that's still sitting on the sidelines, people waiting to get in at cheaper prices. It's just like, how long can you sit on the sidelines? And when those cheaper prices come, the dip seems to be bought fairly quickly. So I'm personally not seeing any big swings that are changing my opinion, other than these geopolitical tensions that I think are starting to fade a little bit, especially as Trump's saying here on Monday, he expects to reach a fair deal after his upcoming meeting with the president. I think he's going to try to come out with some, things that are de-escalated. On top of that, the government shut down. Basically, nobody really seems to care about that. The market kind of behaves in its own way. But however, I think once it reopens, that could be bullish just because it's less uncertainty, I guess, that is still around. That could decrease volatility, as we had the administration that basically says, hey, they're looking to possibly take some more extreme measures to get the government reopened. We do have some big indicators. Let's talk about BMNR right here at 53.02. It's holding a good support right here above the 50 zone, and Tom Lee is just buying Ethereum like they're going to run out of it tomorrow. And of course, he's trying to perform this mission and this goal of achieving 5% of the circulating supply. And he's doing that. People have calculated on X that I've been seeing here that if they continue to accumulate ETH at the current rate that they are, they're probably going to achieve that 5% goal by about mid-January of 2026. These new addresses, they're saying here, about a total of 250 million ETH. And where Ethereum is actually kind of sitting at, it kind of got faded today, actually. It was up here at about 4,000 at this floor and then lost support there and is kind of coming down now to 39.32. So BMNR is at this interesting point, and it's a very volatile stock. I'm looking to see when a possible entry would look more attractive, but it's like, hey, are we going to miss it once Ethereum does start to run? Everybody's anticipating this thing to run. However, it just hasn't. So the question is, when is it going to? Is it going to? And this is just kind of the wild, wild west. So very speculative here in nature. And if you want to talk about very speculative things, we'll talk about Beyond Meat right here that went up over like 160 some percent today, another 16% or whatever in the after hours. This has a ton of trading frenzy behind it, with an astonishing amount of volume today. People are predicting this is setting up to be like the next GameStop that we saw in 2021, saying send BMNR to, or sorry, not BMNR, BYND beyond here to, $100, talking about previous gaps. This stock is nearly down like 99%, and it was a penny stock under $1. Now here at $1.69. It'll be interesting to track this thing. However, proceed with caution. This is just a gamble. No strong fundamentals behind here. More looking at momentum and movement. So, can't urge to put a lot of eggs in the basket for this one. You're going to see probably some crazy profits and things like that all over X that make a lot of FOMO across the board. You're going to see a lot of volatile days with this. It'll be interesting to follow the story as it is gaining more momentum, and you're seeing the media that is starting to track it. Other than that, looking at some of the more, actual AI-driven stocks and things like that, you're seeing a little bit of a cool-off in some of the AI cloud infrastructure stocks, such as Nebius, which has actually been continuing to pull back, looking more attractive right here at 109. This is kind of coming back. We'll see what happens if it continues to dip at around this $100 mark. You're seeing things like CoreWeave that are pulling back here to 127. NVDA actually closed slightly running today with some overall bullishness in the market. So some of the AI semiconductor stocks and these AI, full cloud infrastructure stocks are cooling off a little bit here, possibly gearing up for its next run up. So, the personal things that I am looking for is just for these earnings to remain resilient, looking at Netflix, Coca-Cola, and these other things, and looking at, capital expenditures across the market, especially from some of these big tech companies. If you combine that with a trade deal that does get announced and other types of quantitative easing type of events, then that's where I think the market still has leg to push up towards end of the year. Peace out, take care, and I'll catch you guys later.